Hello everyone, welcome to my sewing room. I'm Kim, and in today's video I've taken up the challenge that's circling the sewing community at the moment, and it's called Finish That WIP 2026. Now, I am somebody who does have WIPs on the go all the time. I generally start something, and if I'm not feeling it, I will move on to something else. So at the moment I've probably got about 7 or 8 things going, and I interchange between them, but I don't necessarily call them my WIPs because I know that I'm enjoying them and they will get finished. But I have a separate WIP box where I have put quite a lot of WIPs in there over the years, and I have been slowly working through them, and I'm so pleased that I got these two finished because I want to enter them for this challenge, which finishes at the end of the month, the 31st of January. And I finished one of them today and I finished one of them yesterday, and they are this beautiful blouse. So first of all, the history behind this blouse was it was originally a dress, and I used a favourite shirt pattern. So it was the B5526, which is now Butterick 6747, and I hacked it. So I just got the shirt and I lengthened it and I made it into a shirt dress, but it never fit me because when I made it I was still discovering my body and how clothes fit on me, and I just basically cut the fabric longer, assuming that it would fit me, and totally forgot, that I'm a pear shape and it was never going to fit me around the hips. I mean, I managed to get the dress up and I could walk in it okay, no problem at all, but as soon as I sat down it would gape at the hips, and I felt very conscious of the fact that it wasn't really a garment that I was going to wear, because every time I pulled it out of the wardrobe it was beautiful, but I knew that it just revealed too much. And I showed you this dress a couple of weeks ago because I was a little bit unsure what to do with it, and I thought, I'm going to make it into a shirt. And a few of you said, why don't you just wear it as a duster? And I don't know, it got into my head. I thought, yeah, maybe I could wear it as a duster. But as the weeks have gone by, I realised I'm never going to wear it as a duster. I'm not a duster person. So I've cut it back and have made it into a shirt because it will get more use as a shirt. So I'll stand up and show you her because she is beautiful. The fabric is gorgeous. It's called Queen Anne's Lace Caps on Bronze Satin. So it's very silky smooth. And I bought this fabric from a company called Cloth Spot back in 2015. And it had been sitting in my stash for quite a long time, and I made the dress in August 2021, so it has been sitting in my other WIP box for about 4 and a bit years. Way too long, and way too long for such a nice garment to be just sitting there waiting for me just to make a very simple alteration, and that was basically to take it from a dress to a shirt. So it was just really hacking off the bottom part of the dress. So let me show you her. So here she is. She's very, very simple, just 2 front panels, back panel, sleeves, cuffs, collar stand and collar, no back yoke, and no bust dart. So she just feels glorious on. I haven't got anything to go with her because she's got this beautiful purple and like a turquoise coloured print in the fabric. So I really need to find something that will go with her. And I did think the other day, when I was showing you some sample fabrics a couple of weeks back, I had this Cadbury purple fabric, and that has popped into my head because I thought actually that would make a really nice skirt to go with this shirt, or even a pair of trousers. So that's whizzing around in my head. So this is my first finished WIP. My second WIP is even older. It's a cushion and it's a tapestry. I sewed the tapestry in probably around about 2000, so it was when my kids were really young, and I was really into tapestry in a big way. And because my kids were young, as soon as I finished a tapestry, I would just literally put it in the cupboard. And I had plans to make all of my tapestries into cushions as the kids got older and grew out of that snotty sort of phase where they had their hands in chocolate and jam, and I didn't really want them to be touching my beautiful tapestries because so much time and work went into these things. And most of them I have made up, and this one was the last one. So I have been stretching it the last couple of weeks to sort of pull it back into a square shape, and she is now finished. So I thought, just to make this video a little bit more interesting, I will take you along on the journey that I took to make her into a cushion. Now, when I'm doing anything like this, I'm never really 100% sure what I'm doing half the time. I just make it up as I go along. But the one thing I knew I wanted was I wanted a zip in the back of the cushion, because I much prefer zippers in my cushions, and I wanted a really pretty trim on it. So I'll run the video so you can see me making up the cushion, and I'll see you up the other end when I do the little reveal. Right, so I've started working on my bird and fish tapestry, and I've dampened it. I put it on the board to stretch it. So before I do, I'm just actually going to put some tissue paper to protect it from the board, because there's a few black marks on the board. Right, so the tapestry goes wrong side up, and I've got some lines on the board, so I'm just going to position the tapestry to get it into that square shape. So I've got a few tacks here which I've already pulled out from the board, so I will have to go off and find some more. So this line here, I'm going to just align to that line on the board. Just fold this over, you can see it a bit better then. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to hammer away. I might turn the volume off because it might be a bit loud. So I'm stretching her to bring her up to that line at the top. And she will look really strange to start with, but she will settle into that square shape. So they're all the tacks, and she's reasonably square. So I'll let her dry out, I'll test her, and then if I need to do her again, I will do. But I'll just give her a few days to dry. So whilst I'm waiting for the tapestry to dry out, I thought I would work on the back. And a few weeks ago, I bought some pale blue crushed velvet from Pound Fabrics, and the minimum I could buy was 2 meters. So I do have quite a lot of this beautiful pale blue crushed velvet, and though I won't use all of it on this cushion, I can use it for other little projects. And I'm looking at Doris and Daisy here because they might end up with some new dresses in crushed velvet, so we'll see. So I've got my crushed velvet, but this is dressmaking fabric, and I need to turn it into a upholstery fabric, so it's a little bit more hard wearing, especially for a cushion. So I have some fusible interfacing which I bought last year from £1 a metre, and it was just called Iron On Fusible. So I'm going to use this. It is quite thin. I don't really want it too thick. It is quite thin, and then I'm going to put on top of this some calico. So I will have crushed velvet, wadding and calico, so I have a nice sandwich going on. I'm going to put the zipper in the back of the cushion rather than on the edge of the cushion, and that's only because the tapestry's got a really thick sort of stringy canvas to it, and I know that if I try to stitch a zipper onto that, it's just not going to work. So I'm going to move the zipper into the middle or the edge of the back. So I will decide how to do that as I work on it, but I will take you along on the journey so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Now, the tapestry itself measures 13.5 by 14.5 inches. So I'm going to make up my sandwiched piece of backing 17.5 by 16.5, so it's a bigger piece, and then I can cut it to whichever size I need it once I've made it up. So I've ironed the fusible onto the back of the crushed velvet. I do like how the crushed velvet moves, and I think it looks a bit like water, and as this has a fish in water, I thought that was quite a nice continuation of the theme. I've also found some zipper in my stash with a pull, and I've decided that with the back, the calico back, I'm going to conceal the zipper. So I pulled out my box of calico that I've used for various twirls and everything. I'm just going to cut a size that works on the cushion so it's not wasted, and then I will start putting the zipper in. Right, I found some calico that will fit on one side, so I'm just going to trim that very roughly around what I've already got. It's gonna It might be a little bit oversized to start with, but everything can be cut down if need be. Well, it's good to use up some of this calico because I don't like to waste anything. Right, that's one side. Find a bit that fits the other side. Right, so with that cut, I'm just going to give it a good press and then continue to put the zipper in. For a bit of fun, I've just put some detail onto the calico, and it just says tapestry completed in circum 2000, tapestry and cushion made by Kim Duffy, that's me, cushion completed January 2026. So you never know, 100 years time somebody might find my cushion. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just literally going to cut this in half and get my zipper tape, put my zipper pull on. I'm just gonna going to put my so I've got my zipper face down with the fabric face up, and I am just going to pin okay. Right, I'm just going to go and stitch that first. Right, so I've stitched the first side of the zipper on, and what I want to do now is I just want to put this facing on. So I'm just going to put it over the edge, and then I'm going to follow that stitch line again just to sandwich that zipper in between the calico and the wadding and velvet. So that's the zipper put in on one side. So we have our velvet and then we have our calico, and the zip is nice and concealed. So I'm just going to do exactly the same on the other side. So with the right side of the zipper facing up, I'm going to put the right side of the fabric down, and I'm going to stitch, and then I will put the calico on underneath once I've got a stitch line. So this is what she looks like so far. So you can see I've stitched down this side to secure her to the zip. This side I overlapped, I've ironed her, and then I've stitched down. And you can see, you know, she's not secure or anything yet, but I will bring her forward and I will stitch both ends so that she's secure and that the zipper is hidden. And obviously when I do that, I need to just make sure that the zipper pull is pulled into the middle. So what I've done now is when I pulled her over, I've stitched the end. So she's got a little square here and a square here, and I have stitched down to create a flap. And I have done that by stitching on the wrong side and literally going down the edge, the top edge of that lining that meets the zipper, so it's nice and neat, and also holds that second piece of lining flat. And so you can see she's just a flap. So once she is on the back of the cushion, she will look brilliant. Right, so that's the back of the cushion finished, and just waiting for the front tapestry to dry, and then we can start bringing the two together. Right, so the tapestry is reasonably square, so I'm quite happy with how it looks at the moment. So what I've done is I have fused some interfacing on the back, and this is just really to help with securing any of the stitches if they do come loose over time. So that will give it some durability. And what I'm going to do now is just going to draw around the tapestry to square it off so that when I put the back on, it's all nice and square. So I've got my square ruler here, and I'm just going to literally draw around so I get a nice shape. With it now squared off, I can measure it and just make sure that the back fits. So it is now measuring 13¼ by 13 and just over 3/4. So hopefully the back will fit on. So it should fit that way and it should fit that way. So it fits. So what I'm going to do is I want that bit to go on the bottom. Just open the zipper. So obviously I don't want to get that caught on the outside of my square. So I'm just going to pin it so I've got the corners. Right, so now I've got the corners, I'm just going to draw around the back in and make sure it's the right size. So it's the right size and matches the front. So. Okay, right, so that's the square. So just make sure it fits. It's all a bit, yeah, okay. I need to bring the front forward. I just put some pins in into those corners so I can see where it will hit the tapestry. Oh. So I think what I'm going to do, because this has ended up being a lot smaller, I'm just going to bring the squares that I stitched here, I'm going to actually bring them in so they fit within the square a bit better. So I think put a pin there, so I'm going to take it up to there. Let me mark that. Yeah, so that's the edge, so I will take it to about there. Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to re-stitch the squares here so that when the cushion's on, the zipper doesn't go right to the edge of the cushion. So I think that would actually look better. So I've now re-stitched the squares so they fit actually within the cushion. So I'm just going to trim off the loose threads. And then what I want is I want the bottom of the zipper to be at the bottom of the cushion. So I'm just going to play around with positioning this cushion so it hits my pins and get them into the corner. So even though I pinned it this side, what I've done is once I pinned it this side, I've turned over and I've started transferring the pins from this side to the other side, because what I want to do is I want to use that line to actually stitch around. Right. So no pins on this side, that's just great. And I can now go off and stitch the tapestry. Right, so I've stitched her all around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn her right side out just to make sure that I've captured all of the canvas and there's none of this sort of raw canvas showing. And then if it's okay, what I'm going to do then is I will trim all the sides down. I think I will probably zigzag around them first and then trim them down so it looks better once it's turned out again the second time. Yeah. So I think it's pretty good actually. There's only one small area that's showing, but that can be hidden when I put the trim on. So I'm just going to turn it wrong side out again, and then I'm going to go off and zigzag and just neaten her up so that when she is turned out right side, finally she will look a lot better. So we're nearly there. Shall we turn her over and see what she looks like? Ta-da! Oh, she looks lovely. Right, so what I'm going to do is I got my trim here. So this trim I'm going to hand sew all around the edges. And then once the trim is sewn on, I can release the frill and then she'll be finished. So as I work along, I will tease out the corners a little bit more. So I'm going to go and do that as a little job in front of the TV. So I shall be back when she's finished. Right, the big reveal. So here she is. Isn't she lovely? I mean, I just absolutely love her, and the frill really finishes off her really well, and she's got her beautiful crushed velvet back, and let me just find the zip. Where is it? The zip. So got the zip in, and she finishes at the top because they put the square at the top and at the bottom, so the zip sort of is not right at the top, but oh. There we go, and she's all nice and concealed. Yeah, lovely, lovely trim. So she's my last tapestry, so I will take her downstairs and my husband will be thrilled to bits that I've got another cushion. But yeah, I'm really pleased with her. So this actual tapestry is a design by Neil McCallum called Bird Catching Fish, and I took it out of this book, which I've had for donkey's years. It's lost its cover because I used it so many times. I've actually made quite a number of tapestries out of this book, and I probably will continue to make more, though I'm not in a sort of rush to make any new tapestries. So going forward, last week's video when I did the toaster and I did a deep dive on the pattern and did the garment reveal at the end, I mean, you all went crazy for that. You really loved that video. So I thought what I would do is I would do it again. Now I've got a blouse called the Arvo Blouse by Ose Patterns. It's a French pattern company and it's a bib shirt stroke blouse, and I've wanted to make it for a really long time, so I've already started working on it and filming the process, so that will be coming your way very soon, hopefully next week. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed the contents of this video, and if you have, give us a thumbs up, comment, and go and have a look at all of the posts on the Finish That WIP 2026, which is a challenge set by one Lisa Show. And I will put the details all in the description, and there's only a few days left, so if you have managed to finish a WIP off or intend to get off WIP finished by the end of the month, go and post it, because there are obviously prizes to be won and you never know, you might be lucky, so fingers crossed. So until next time, have a wonderful evening, day, wherever you are, and I hope you get lots of sewing done, and I will see you all very soon. Take care.